Is it fire? I guess it's fire. No, that's not. I talked to Scott a long time yesterday about Empire State.
I'll let public hearing order at this time. First thing on the agenda is hear from the public on property owner request for annexation and rezoning of both parcel from county RA to city R3. 2.22 acres located at 540 South Hampton Road, Hampton, Georgia, 30228. Parcel ID number is 041-010-23001. And 41.01 acres located at 0 South Hampton Road, Georgia, 30228. Parcel ID number 041-0102-3000. Yes, please turn the mic. Stacy Jordan, would you please come forward, sir?
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Council. This request before you tonight, as you had mentioned, is for two different parcels that are requesting annexation to the city. And at the same time, they are requesting a rezoning from RA residential, which basically RA county, to an R3 city of Hampton zoning designation for the purposes of developing the property with lots that would be a minimum of 12,000 square feet. The city and the county have, well, I won't get into the council member just yet, since we'll have another hearing. We have taken a look at the request. We've looked at the character of the area of subdivisions within the city. We see the merits of it. We did recommend approval with 6 conditions that are in your exhibit book at the bottom of the executive summary. We listed the conditions and also in the staff report as well. The zoning advisory board held a hearing on July the 11th, and they did not agree. The zoning advisory board recommended denial of the applicant's request. Please answer the question.
Okay. Any questions from the council? Okay. Is the owner of the property here?
Michelle Battle for the applicant.
Okay.
Michelle Battle with Battle Law, 1 West Court Square, Decatur, Georgia. We are happy to be here this evening to discuss the annexation and the rezoning. I'm not sure if you all want to give time now for the comp plan as well. I can do kind of all at one time. I'm not sure. Having not been here before, I appreciate the opportunity to be before you tonight.
Stacy, do you want to do the comp plan too, or would you rather do each one of individually?
It's on our agenda separately, so unless you would like to amend the agenda, we may.
We'll go individually.
Yeah.
All right. So we're on the annexation?
Yes.
And the rezoning? Okay. With regards to the annexation and rezoning, obviously, we are seeking to annex the property in from Henry County into the incorporated Hampton. We believe that this will help with regards to the development of the subdivision as proposed to allow for the continued growth and development of Hampton. We know that there is much desire to see the continued growth of this particular area. We can tell that quite honestly in part by the Cobblestone Bridge project that had been approved some time ago that was finally, after the crash, developed out by D.R. Horton. And as a result of that project being off of the books at this point. And looking at the other development within the area, what we recognize is that there really are no vacant lots, so to speak, within subdivisions within the city of Hampton. All of the subdivisions that had been left kind of hanging after the crash are now gone. And so it's now time, we believe, to see new lots and new families come into the city of Hampton as you continue to look and grow and to develop in the manner shown in your LCI study, which is for the area immediately north of this site. If you look at the Cobblestone Ridge project, which was zone plan development, which is no longer on your in your zoning ordinance, but it's my understanding you are looking to amend the zoning ordinance to reintroduce that. We are at a density that is consistent with what was approved at that time. When you look at that particular project, it was 75.99 acres or 140 lots at a size of 12,000 square feet, with the average size being roughly 13,132. This is stated in the staff recommendation. We are looking at a similar product in that we would be developing in accordance with the R3 standards with also a 12,000 minimum square foot lot. We have 43 acres at 91 lots, so our density is actually slightly less. Cobblestone Ridge was at 3.32 net acres density per acre. We're at 2.68. And so we are slightly less in size in that sense than the Cobblestone Ridge project. If you also look south of this site at the Southampton subdivision, which is zoned R3, they have over 96 acres with 147 lots. Here was a typo in the staff recommendation, but it's at 10,890 square foot lots. So those are slightly smaller than the lots that we are proposing. And the average house size there and the net density was at 1,400 and 1,600 average with a density of 1.68 units per acre. So we believe that we're kind of in that sweet spot to allow for development in a manner that is consistent with the vision that was held by the city council at the time that Cobblestone Ridge project as well was originally approved, and that this will again help towards the continued vitality of this particular area and bring in much needed homes. When you look at the lots, again, we're looking at 12,000 square foot lots, 75 foot wide, and the minimum house size we anticipate being at roughly 2,200 square feet. The housing prices that we anticipate would be somewhere around 250 and up, and we are extremely excited about the possibilities with regards to this particular site. We believe the R3 zoning is appropriate, and we would ask that if there was any hesitation with regards to the development, with regards to my hope is that we would definitely want to bring the property into the city. Our concern, obviously, is that we want to make sure that the rezoning and the addition of the property into the city kind of go hand in hand. It's important to us to be able to actually do the project as initially anticipated. So with that, we would be happy to respond to any questions that you may have and stay with the remaining time of the call. Thank you.
Does any council member have any questions? Thank you, ma'am. Is anybody, Ms. Brown?
Are we going to hear from the residents?
Yes, we will. Yes.
Thanks.
Okay. Anybody that would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Anybody that would like to speak in opposed?
We have one over there.
We'll take one at a time. Good evening.
So this 91 home proposal backsliding into my property. So I have concerns in the sense that when we bought the property, we were building, JD, who was the building person at the time, had told us that that was wetland.
Mike, put the mic closer.
Told us that that's wetland, that's on that property, and our land, we're on an acre and a half, is also considered wetland. And we couldn't even put a shed on our property. So now I have concerns that you're building a 91-home property on this, has some sort of geo study been done? Is this still not wetland? What will cause that? I mean, when she had told us there was an issue with the wildlife, you couldn't touch anything in that buffer area, trees, the wildlife, so what's gonna happen to the preservation of all this stuff? Is there gonna be any issues with building on flooding? If this is wetland and you're planning to excavate it now to build on it? My other concern is that this 91-home property has only one entrance based on what they said at the county. The entrance is the Southampton Road. There was no other. They said they identified a bump house, which is on Floyd Road, as a possible second entrance. Now, I think our ordinance says that if at 40 or 50 homes, there has to be two entrances. So the bump house on Floyd Road, which is mentioned in the county survey, is also owned by the agent for the applicant. And the plan there is to build a 600-home subdivision. So now you want to really join the 600-home subdivision with that entrance on Floyd to this 91-home subdivision for the entrance on Southampton. So really you're talking about a 700-home subdivision and not just a 91-home subdivision. What is the traffic on Southampton? Southampton is a very narrow road, and that's coming on the bend. Safety issues. I'm tired of coming to the city and asking about sidewalks for Southampton and being told, well, that's county road. So what happens after you put a city subdivision on this county road with this kind of influx of traffic? What's going to happen? Who's maintaining the road? When it has potholes, when it has anything, when anything happens, because now that's county road. What are you guys going to tell us if you're annexing this into the city? I know I only have like, 3 minutes?
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Ms. Dodson?
Annexation of the property. I asked before y'all vote, you each ask yourself one question. What is this going to benefit the city? And I'm sure some of you, the first answer will be, oh, it's going to increase our tax base. At what price? You're going to have to maintain those roads. You're going to have to maintain the utilities, if I understand correctly. And like the other lady spoke, one entrance and one exit. You ran into a problem right out here on Elm Street a few years ago when a poor man was laid in his yard having a heart attack. And the fire department had the road blocked. No one could go in, no one could go out. You're going to allow a subdivision again, 91 homes if I understand, which is a little different than what I calculated. I calculated right. They could possibly put 4.7 houses per acre. That's punching it way too close. You might as well put up apartments. Now, what I've heard, I could be wrong, the county could correct me, the only reason for asking for this annexation is because the builder, developer, whoever, wanted to put sewer. County told them they didn't have sewer ran out there. They had to put the tanks in. In order to put the tanks in, the houses had to be on bigger lots. Builder, developer saw dollar sign. Oh, that's gonna cost me too much. So let's annex into the city, have the city take on the property, and then we can tap on to the city sewer, okay, which I understand is already strained, okay? I don't understand the benefit for the city to annex this property in our city right now. We've asked, a number of citizens have asked, if we're going to have a subdivision in the city, why not, and annex property in, why not put houses on bigger lots? People are asking for those. They don't want the small, and I know it sounds like a huge house. But you're talking, the people might as well not buy a lawnmower, all they need is a weed eater, because they don't have that big of a yard. Try houses on bigger lots. But just ask yourself, what is this going to benefit the city and at what cost?
Thank you, ma'am. Dexter, come up.
Good, good.
Good afternoon, council. Dexter Clay with T15 Crisscott Circle, Hampton, Georgia. And just want to make a few comments about the annexation. For the record, I'm not speaking for or against that, and want you all to consider, I understand I have done cost benefit analysis, so I just.
Okay.
Normally, when I hear conversations about this, I normally put people in three different budgets. You got 10%, you want 15, 20, 9, and 10%. You got another 10% that wants to put 10%. You have people in the center that want responsible growth. So I want to speak to the responsible growth. I think three things that we need to consider. Number one, the environmental impact. Construction of land development can add waste to our fields. Change to the ecosystem. For wildlife to relocate. The infrastructure. Can our current roads accommodate one or two new subdivisions? Can our sewer system support it? Can our sidewalks? We may need additional landscaping within the city because, they'll be patronizing the businesses. Do we have enough public parking space? And then, something else, can our schools at every level accommodate the new subdivision? Thirdly, the economic and social impact. New neighborhoods, cities expanding, new commercial buildings, all signify a growing community, which is good. But let's just find a responsible growth so we can do both maintain the character and grow responsibly. Thank you.
Bill Dodson?
Bill Dodson, 15 Chevy Street. I'm opposed to it, the subdivision for the simple reason. For the past 25, 30 years, I've seen City of Hampton grow. And what you do is your code is not fair. And the reason your code isn't fair, you allow these new subdivisions come in all around the older subdivisions, and you require them to vary the power. Hey, that's great. But what happens when you lead up to these new subdivisions, you allow them to put the power above the ground, and you're depreciating the property of the old subdivisions. It's happened to every subdivision in this town. And until you get your code right, until you get your code fair, where it don't affect the old residents, the old people in this town, I don't support the new subdivision. Thank you very much.
But Larry?
Larry Rucker, 15 Lake Vista Circle. You heard my song before, and I'm against it, and I probably shouldn't even tell you that because it's based on past experience. And you think I'm for y'all seem to go against me, and I'm against you seem to go against me. Anyway, I've said before, we got enough of this sort of home in the city already. Why do you want to continue bringing more? Why not try to attract some better, bigger houses, lots? Everyone we've got, there's problems. We have subdivisions, you can't park more than one car in the driveway without being out in the street or on the sidewalk. And I know you're gonna hear some great things, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, but just think about it for a minute. How many houses are gonna try to squeeze on an acre? 250 sounds like a decent house, doesn't it? It does, it seems to me. But it's gonna be the same thing that you've approved before, and I wish you would stop and think and try to attract some better houses in the city. I agree with everything that's been said before me. She got on something that I had thought of that I think is being pulled here, quite frankly. There's 200 acres that goes over the 4 acres that adjoins this acres that we're talking about. As I'm standing here, there's gonna be somebody at this podium wanting to include that 200 acres, which is not in the city right now. And then you're gonna have houses all the way through 230 acres or whatever it is, all the same thing. That's not what the citizens of Hampton want. And y'all are here not to see that, I mean, the whole motive here is money. It's about somebody making money. It's not about making Hampton a better place, bringing people in. It's about getting more votes in the city. That's one thing it does. But it's about somebody getting rich. It's not about trying to make the city a better place. Okay? You got to start, I think, try to bring some better quality houses bigger lots in order to broaden what the city represents. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir? Well, I'll get started.
Brian Lucian, 136 Madison Drive, Hampton, Georgia. The question that I have, this was brought before county before, and it was turned up. I was there. The county left with some important questions that right now the LLC didn't answer. I hope you guys have all the answers. Some of the recommendation was access shall be located such that the minimum intersection site distance and minimum spacing requirements of the HCDOT are met for the procedure speed limit of Southampton Road. One, hope you guys have that to show. Access shall have a deceleration lane and an acceleration taper design and construction to HCDOT standards. The owner developer shall complete a traffic study equivalent to the required in Henry County and Little Glory Hill. Unified Land Development Code Section 8.0102. The owner developer shall require the complete indication improvement to the satisfaction of the HCDOT for access to Southampton Road as per of the subdivision for approval development permit. Nobody talk about that. My question is, what is the gain from this annexation? Okay? Have a traffic study been done? Are you guys aware of it? No, this is from me now. This is, we plan to improve the police department. We're gonna have over 700 homes. What about the fire department? Is there any way in the budget, that I've been sitting here for years and heard we don't have a budget, we don't have enough money. That is part of the city. Council take that into consideration. We're gonna have more people, more traffic, more volume. Is that being looked at? And it was recommended that they do that. So again, just ask, are they results? That's my,
Thank you, sir. Sir.
Thank you. Dr. Williams, Southampton, when it came to, looking at this, Southampton, when we first moved here and everything else about Southampton, it's always been a little outside the city limits, but in the city limits. When it first initiated for Southampton, when it ever came to the board, there was a grand total of houses supposed to be on that piece of property of 50. The phone company only put 50 lines in that piece of property. Went belly up, it was transferred from 50 homes to 142 homes. That's the original setup. Coming down Southampton Road, it's only a grand total of 12 houses on Southampton Road before you get to Southampton. Look at 91 houses that we're talking about building, and also this other area that's connected to it. This has been under debate for almost 4 years about what's going on that side. We have been listening to the noise, and now it's in the noise stop. Why? Don't know. The other portion is Hampton Lake. If you could condense this many homes south of Hampton Lake, but yet you would not let them build any type of homes that look like this next to Hampton Lake. That was another big issue. That was decided here that, hey, we don't care if you have a plan, we don't care what you have. We're not gonna let you put those small towns next to Hampton Lake, even if you have a center. Southampton is not happy with demanding the same thing. You're not happy with demanding.
Thank you. Mr. Love.
Arlie Lowe, 171 Lake Hampton Drive. For several years now, various people on this council, and there have been other decisions made that we need more upscale housing in Hampton. to attract a more financially secure type individual homes. This is not that. This is a starter home community. I will repeat what I said the last time somebody came up. There's no exit from this, so we have 91 homes. That's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 182 at least automobiles going in and out of it every day with only one way in and one way out. That's just asking for trouble. Also, on a separate note, I would like very much for the county to double check on something, because when Southampton was approved, there were no conditions, no special restrictions or anything put on Southampton subdivision, because it came in as a straight R2 with no conditions. It's not R3, it was never R3, it came in as R2. I voted for it as R2. So, and if you look at the density for that subdivision, it's also an R2 density. So if you're gonna base it on the fact that Southampton is R3, it's not R3, it's R2. So I think that's a flaw that's in the argument. Thank you.
Thank you. Don, you'll be the last one on this one, please.
Someone is here, okay.
Songbird, 29 Elm Street. I'm also speaking out against this. I'm going to benefit for the city, just for the many reasons we just heard. But I also remember a time back when we had the annexation and the increase in the density, and what it led to for our community. It led to having to, because infrastructure was not properly considered at the time. The biggest thing was the water and sewage, and that has led us as a city to have to bear the debt of millions and millions of dollars because infrastructure wasn't considered properly, and that's an item that's being looked at now by our city manager, trying to help us manage that better. It gets complained about regularly. I think traffic is also, some people mentioned, a consideration. 5 o'clock down here at East Main and Woodlawn down here by the drugstore, it's very intense. And once the other subdivision gets put in and we start adding and adding to this area, it's going to make our little town a very unpleasant place to be. And I would urge this council to put our community first over developers. Please put our community first. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy?
Can I make one brief comment?
Yes, sir. So you'll be the last one.
That's fine. I noticed on this plan, entryway, drive, dead end at the creek bed. I would like the developer to go on record as to what their plans are for that dead end road. Having their ownership of the adjacent property, it would seem to me at least that there might be a plan to extend that roadway over to intersect with Floyd. I would like them to go on record as to what their plans are for that dead end.
Could you give me your name and address, please?
Michael Walpole, 511 Pebble Rock Road.
Thank you, sir. Stacy? This is moving on to number 2, to hear from the public on property owner request to amend the comprehensive plan for property located at 540 Southampton Road, and undeveloped property immediately to the west in land lot 147 of the 3rd District. The property consists of 43.23 acres, and this is a request to amend the future land map design and rural residential to medium density residential. Stacy?
Yes, sir. Our comprehensive plan includes a future land use map, which serves as the county and the city's policy guide. It's a joint comprehensive plan, which means we share it, and we also share this future land use map. The future land use map designation for this subject property is rural residential, which does not support the applicant's request for rezoning for a residential subdivision with 12,000 square foot lot. So, the applicant has requested that the city change the future from rural residential to a medium density residential, which would support the applicant's request for R3 within the city of Hampton. Staff has taken a look at this request. Again, we noted the areas most closely that are within the city of Hampton. And these areas they're not supported by rural residential either. Outside the city limits, immediately across Southampton Road, is a proposed development called Henderson Farms. And the pod of the Henderson Farms planned development that is immediately across Southampton Road was approved for residential subdivision with lots as small as 10,890. So we do recommend approval of the applicant's request to change our policy guide from rural residential to medium density residential. Similarly to the rezoning request, the zoning advisory board held a hearing on July the 11th. They disagreed with staff's recommendation, and they did recommend denial of the applicant's request. And just for the record, I would like to say that the Planning and Zoning Department did receive from the applicant a constitutional challenge, or a letter reserving their constitutional rights. And I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Any questions from the council? Okay, thanks, Steve. Is the applicant here?
Good evening again, Michelle Battle Law. This area is changing, bottom line. When we look at the developments that have been already approved and already developed in the area is changing. I know that that is not comforting for some, but it is reality. The idea of being able to stay at 1 acre lots, the size of the lot does not immediately correlate with the value of the home that is placed on it. You can have very large lots with homes that are very small. You can have very large lots with houses that are very expensive, or you can have very large lots with houses that are very inexpensive. I think what is most important is the quality of what we are trying to put in place, and can we put parameters around it to ensure that we have a quality product that is in line with the vision the city has for its residents and for its growth and development. We are certainly in belief that what we are proposing, that we can reach that point in which we have additions placed on the site that will allow for a development that is consistent with the overall vision. We believe that with regards to the comp plan, again, I think staff is directly on point that medium density is clearly what is already happening around this area, that these large lots are no longer really viable. Most individuals who are buying, and I would say, I know that this is we're not further north, where we're looking at, 6,000 square foot lots and 8,000 square foot lots and 2,200 square foot homes on them. That is not the character or nature of this area. But the reality is people are looking for smaller lots, less maintenance. I'm not saying you have to get down to a 6,000 square foot lot here to achieve that, but certainly a 12,000 square foot lot is still a very substantial lot. It is a lot that allows for 75 feet in width, over pad area that's well in excess of 3,000 square feet or more, which means in terms of heated floor area, again, we're looking at minimums of 2,200 square feet. The average house price in this area, according to the information we have had, is roughly about $180,000 average home sales. And so, we are looking at a product that certainly would be above that would bring new residents into the area, and new homes that we believe would be a benefit overall to the growth and development of the area. So with that, there was one issue that came up with regards to the wetlands. There are no wetlands that we are building within on this particular property. I'm not sure which property that they were referring to, but while we do have a stream buffer and we are honoring that stream buffer, there's no stream actually on this property, so adjacent site. There will be a deceleration lane placed in, and to the extent necessary, we can put the sidewalk walks along, the frontage, on South Hampton, but with, respect to the other streets, we respectfully would ask, for again, approval of both the, annexation, the comp plan, and the rezoning.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Hello.
I'm Lizzie Chen, 136 Madison Drive in Southampton. So the property that I'm speaking about is my property. We were told that that land was wetland from the zoning, from the, city zoning committee person, saying that we weren't able to build on it. Yes, there's a stream back there, but they told us, I guess, when it rains, that the whole flow of the land. And trust me, Southampton, I think, when was it earlier this year, when it rained, it flooded because of that wet land. So I don't know if they didn't do some sort of study to figure out what the land is. The other concerns I have is, the lady there spoke about a 2,200 square foot heated surface. I thought I saw on the city's ordinance for this 12,000 square foot lot, that only a 1,400 square foot home was permitted. So are they going to be building something bigger than what's permitted? Are they following what the city ordinances are? They want to annex into the city. I don't understand what is the purpose of annexing into the city? Are they going to change themselves and pay the upgrade to a sewer system? Because right now they're on a septic, and I think that 12,000 lot was for a septic system with the R2 zoning. Those are just my concern.
Okay, thank you. Any more public comments? Yes, sir.
My concern is I'm sitting here and I'm listening from I could go back from when we went to county on this. Okay, I think it's an insult to everybody here and everybody in this world that before they go to county, they should have come here and let us know what they want. So if county had approved it, where would we be right now? Just approving it? That's my question.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Moving on. Now here, Mr. Rook.
Michael Walker, 1111 Hellrock Road. This city went to a great expense and a lot of headaches through rezoning, zone compliance, coordination with the county, but it seems like the job was not accomplished in a meaningful manner because we constantly are getting these revisions up before the council. Now, either it was zoned wrong to start with, somebody needs to own up to that, or we need to abide by the way that it was zoned.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rooker? No?
I already talked, remember, you don't remember, I'll talk again if you want me to.
No. No, thank you.
Good evening. I just want to refer back to what my neighbor mentioned, what it has to do with. One of my concerns, as well as my husband, is that when we first bought in Southampton, it was back in early 2006, and at that time, once we bought in 1,000, we understood that there was going to be a certain amount of fee that was going to be charged to each resident because of the sewer. And so fast forward a couple of years ago, I'm not sure when it happened, but my understanding is, and I don't know all the details, but the sewer system was refinanced because it wasn't big enough. And so my biggest concern now, we have a builder coming in, and if they're going to build anywhere within the vicinity that impacts our sewer system, those who live south, I'm not sure to what extent, that should be on the builder and not on the residents, especially when we've already gone over 13 years now paying on the sewer system. So that's the biggest concern, as well as the congestion. Another neighbor mentioned something about congestion, and it has to do with traffic study. Whether or not one is going to be done, is one going to be taken into consideration the 600 other homes that's gonna be built that could impact the flow of traffic. So those are the two concerns that we have.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, you'll be the last one before I go to the next item.
Not only spoke about the value of the homes at 180, and if that is true, we just had a sale in our subdivision that was considerably more than that. And even if the average sale today, average value today is 180, that's not what we bought into, so we certainly wouldn't want that impacting or driving the sales in our neighborhood. So 180 today, even if that is true, that's not what we paid for our home. So I wouldn't want that to be a gauge when we're trying to sell or trying to make.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on. To hear from public regarding approval of resolution to transmit the capital improvement element annual update 2019 to 2023 to the Atlanta Regional Commission. Mr. City Manager.
This is an annual report that we have to complete. Ms. Shaw will make this portion of the presentation. She has worked diligently to update the report. We have to get this filed with Henry County so that they can subsequently turn in, they've collected through an intergovernmental agreement that we have with Henry County. They in turn collected from all the cities that had a deadline date, and then they in turn report to the Department of Community Affairs. And so, cover it.
Did you want to go over what it is or what's required?
Mr. Mayor, Council, as the city manager has stated, this is an annual report. It is something that DCA requires, and Ms. Shaw was good enough to put it together. I'm not able to answer any questions about particular projects, but having looked over it, it looks to be very well done. It's something that we typically bring to the city in August so that we can transmit it to the Atlanta Regional Commission, who will forward it to the Department of Community Affairs, who reserves 60 days to review it. They may have comments. They may want revisions, and we need time for those corrections and revisions to be made in order for the council to adopt the approved version by October 31st. So we expect to bring this back to you at your regularly scheduled meeting in October so that it can be adopted by October 31st. And I'd be happy to answer the questions that I can, otherwise I'll need to pass those on.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Shaw.
Good evening. So, like, I sat with, we took the last year's budget, the project list that was submitted by, city clerk, and I sat with the city manager and we went over what projects we were working on currently and what his vision and the council's vision is for this year and the following year as well. And those two, and there were two, particular funds that we kept in mind, one was SWAP and the other was capital projects, and also ongoing projects that we have. And we listed it by department for height, and, we submitted that, we will be submitting that, as our project. Do you have any particular questions about a particular project?
Council have any questions?
This will be coming back before us, so we'll get a chance to see that, dig into it.
Yes.
Any more questions? Thank you, Bill.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman.
On that last column, status, I see some that is still in progress. For example, Old Fortson Library. Why is it still in progress?
Because, you know, we renamed it, and we still wanna get, city manager hasn't had time to visit the building, see if it's in schedule to go visit it, and see if it's up to, the city standards to go and see if we need to make some improvements, maybe get some suggestions,
from the council, and also from the other departments.
So the community center and Old Fortson Library, where's the community center? We talking about the senior center?
Yes.
Okay, right. Thank you. I'm good.
Part of that is, we don't have a building and maintenance director on staff. So we have to go out and do an assessment, a needs assessment for each of these structures. Many of these buildings haven't had, regular maintenance over the years, so we need to go in and do a building by building assessment as far as HVAC, roof repairs, but there haven't been records that have been kept over the years, like when was the last time the roof was put on, when was the last time the, HVAC systems have a lifespan. So these are all things that we're updating. So, when you see in progress, we're part of the progress is gathering the information and setting a timetable for prioritizing which improvements need to take place first. So we'll continue to update this as we go on.
Okay.
And also, most of these projects are going to be part of the budget as well. So they will be part of it.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody here that would like to speak against the capital improvement column annual update? If not, at this time, I'll close the public hearing and we'll roll right into the council.
You asked her, you wanted to speak for?
Anyone that would like to speak for the capital improvement? Okay. This time I will end the public hearing and we will roll into our council meeting. Melissa, if you'll interview the chaplain and. 1845. Yeah. If you want to introduce the chaplain, please, and then after you introduce, we'll be safe for invocation and pledge of flag.
Okay, good evening, members of Mayor and City Council. I have the pleasure this evening of introducing Chaplain Leroy Sewell. Mr. Sewell has been a member of the United States Air Force Auxiliary Civil Air Patrol since February 2018. He holds the position of Transportation Officer, Assistant Emergency Service Officer, and Chaplain at the Gwinnett Composite Squadron, Georgia 112. He has been a pastor for 24 years at the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He has a bachelor's degree in religion theology from Northern Caribbean University in Jamaica, and a master's degree from Inter-American Theological Seminary in Miami, Florida. His wife, I hope I don't mess this up, Thalia, have 3 children. One of Chaplain Sewell's main assignments with the United States Air Force is to conduct character development seminars for the cadets. Chaplain Sewell, please.
Chaplain, everybody rise please for the invocation and pledge the flag.
Let me invite us to bow our heads as we pray. Eternal and the one who has created all things, we bow at this hour. We thank you for Hampton. Thank you for those who were before us and on whose shoulders we now stand. We thank you for the mayor and the council members. As we have heard well from the citizens, you know how the land must be divided. We pray that the wisdom of heaven will be in the wisdom of counsel. Please bless our men and women in uniform here in Hampton and around the world, serving the best country that you have blessed us with. Please be with the responders for the city. We pray your blessings upon every citizen, and we thank you for your blessings. In your holy name, we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
agenda tonight, presentation of approval of council minutes. Regular session meeting held July the 9th, 2019. Motion to approve or disapprove.
And council, I made a motion to approve the minutes for July 2019.
Any discussion, any changes? All in favor? Have something said? Okay.
When we first able to watch the video, there was some huge confusion over how number 7 went, or like the date, was it a motion that that's the time that was seconded, but we never voted on that?
Yeah, we voted on it. And Ms. Park, I'll look at you.
Councilmember Bodie and I, we did discuss that. I will be happy to go back and review the recording to make sure that the steps were followed correctly. I just know the end motion was as it's recorded right now. But there were some amendments that were made. It started out with Councilmember Mitchell. After the discussion, Councilmember Parkley made the final motion. So there could be some things I need to add to the minutes.
I believe she was asking about the postponement of the item. I believe that was actually withdrawn and a new motion was made. That's all.
So let's just give you time to research.
I will.
And get back, and we'll just let it ride in the next council meeting for the approval on those.
Okay.
Public hearing held July the 9th, 2019. Motion to approve or deny.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor? Pass 6-0. Special call meeting held July the 17th, 2019. Need a motion to approve or disapprove?
Make a motion that we approve the July 17th special call meeting.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Special call meeting minutes held July the 18th, 2019. Motion by Mr. Turner to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Byrd. Any discussion? All in favor? That's 6-0. Acknowledgement of guests, proclamation, resolution, and facts. Do we have anything, Ms. Clark?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Rolling right into public comment. Has anybody signed up for public comment?
Actually, they have not, but,
Okay.
because we didn't get a chance to
Okay.
implement this.
If you have a public comment, please come forward. Limit 3 to 5 minutes per person.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
If you could announce that going forward, we will have a sign-in sheet for public comment. I'll be out in the lobby area.
Okay, did everybody hear that? From now on, before the council meeting, she will be in the lobby area to get people signed up for comment. Go ahead, Ms. Dawson. Name and address, please.
Linda Dodson, 15 Shelby Street. Just a quick request. I noticed on the agenda there is the Sunday brunch sales coming up for vote. If I understand it correctly, the law right now says they can serve alcohol on Sunday until after 12:30. We want to change that from 11 o'clock on Sunday. Understand it correctly. You know, I'm one of the many that's over there at Margarita Monday, okay, on Monday night, okay? I like a little margarita every now and then, okay? I don't have a problem with people wanting their alcohol, as long as it's limited. What I have a problem with is, if somebody needs a drink at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning, there's a problem with their alcohol consumption. So, I would ask that you deny this, you vote it down. I understand that it can be going on a referendum, that's fine. If we have to get all the churches involved again, as we did before, we will. And again, I don't have a problem with somebody having a drink every now and then. But if you need it that bad, then there's an issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Seen a lot of you tonight.
No, I just wanted to come and speak in regards to your new business for your B&B, which is in consideration for the annexing of the property in Southampton. I just wanted to also be known that other than the county zoning committee has denied it, the Board of Commission has denied it in May as well. I just don't want to be, I'm the only one here in Southampton that's making the opposition. We do have several of our residents here. They're kind of shy to come up, but you raise your hand if you're, that are also in denial of the annexation.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
That's correct, 250 Creekside Road. How much are we using there? Some of the Creekside neighborhood is built there, roughly 6 8 homes. There's one home left to sell. So proposed builders, these are neighborhood, one of the things that we gotta take down, all the markers done, repair the sidewalks, repair the potholes, before we sell that stuff.
Don Greer?
Don Greer, 20 McDonough Street, brief, in the July council meeting, the council missed an opportunity to prevent confusion regarding merging city polling places with the county polling places. The director of elections for Henry County was present at the June and July council meetings. There was ample opportunity to ask questions and gain clarity. To have some council members appear to be confused, as stated in the July 10th issue of the Henry Herald, is disappointing. I respectfully request if any council member has confusion or a lack of understanding regarding any item that will have any impact on residents, to please abstain from voting on those items.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Williams?
Matt Williams from 188 Kendall, Southampton. Want to come and tell you, as city council, say thank you to the city council and also to the city manager. On July 21st, Southampton conducted a block party. It allowed us to coordinate with the police department and also with the city, and we also received our book as the announcement of the day. The vendors came out, we really did appreciate it. It was the first one. It was our so-called homecoming. And I just want to say thank you for supporting us on that event. We will do it again next year with the same time frame, so we'd like to look for your support that time also.
Thank you, sir. Any more public comment? Ms. Oliver?
Good afternoon, Esma Oliver, 20 College Street.
Okay.
I read a notice that the city council and the city manager were going to have a planning meeting. I don't remember the date, it may have already happened, and, or it's coming soon. My concern is, we had a planning meeting, I guess it was 3 years ago. Nothing ever came of it. Haven't heard any more about it. You are working on that plan. So, my question is, will you take the result of that last planning meeting to begin your discussion about plans for the city in this meeting that's coming up? Excuse me. Because it doesn't make sense that you would go to all that trouble, time, and money to, and I have notes from that meeting. You did post in this room some on board some of the things that each of the council people at that time thought was important for the growth and development of this city.
So, I will take that back. Something was done. However, no action, and if there has been any action on that plan, then kindly let the citizens know what you're planning to do. Same thing for this session. Hopefully you will start with the last session's information, which should make it a little bit easier for you, time-wise anyway. But let the citizens know what it is that you all think is important. And I am also a little concerned that there has been no invitation for citizens to have input into what you all plan to do. How can you plan for the city without knowing what the citizens in the city consider to be priorities?
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you. My understanding is this meeting is already gone and is open.
No, okay.
It's not. Okay, my understanding is the purpose of the meeting is to plan what is going forward in a 5-year plan. Is that correct? You don't know. You have a meeting, don't know what it's all about. Anyway, as far as the voting situation comes up, it still appears in November election, and we're gonna have 2 voting places, as a matter of fact, 3. 1 for the city, and 2 for the county, depending on where you live. And I don't understand why this has to be the way it is. It seems to me somebody missed the vote. Okay. I just urge you to revisit this and determine just what the situation is and come to some kind of conclusion that will prevent somebody from going down to Fortson Library, voting on the city issues, and missing out on going up to one of the churches, vote on the county, or vice versa. We're going to miss out on too many votes, and we need them. On another matter, there was a contract that was let with, I'm not going to go there. Mr. Spraggins presented a list of streets that were going to be repaired a couple of months ago. With the current budget allocation. And I'm just wondering whether there's been any movement towards developing and issuing contracts for that work. Okay. Or does it just sit there and get it up? And on tonight's agenda, item 5B, second reading on resolution 478 downtown parking. When it came up, there was a little bit of discussion about what we're going to do with the county vehicles and the county employees parking on the city lot. Because, as amended, the code would read, and I quote, parking will be restricted in the parking lot of any city-owned or operated property. It was discussed at the first reading, mitigating the problems that would arise county employees parking. Could possibly be done through the permitting process, but there's nothing in the resolution, nothing in the ordinance about a permitting process. How can you issue permit when something is invalid by city code? I don't understand.
Thank you, sir. Any more public comments? We'll close public comments at this time and move on to old business. Mr. City Manager, you have something?
Mayor and Council, we need to add 3 things to tonight's agenda for the new business. We have had 2 votes in the past that we take a vote on adding 3 items to the agenda. One is resolution to add the contract authorizing the mayor and council to enter the contract, appoint a contract with the city clerk. Second is to enter into a professional services contract with Element CPA to provide accounting services at a rate of $175 per hour for an estimated 29 hours in the transition period during the month of September to help us close out our books during the month of September and help us finalize our 2020 budget. And the third request to add to the budget is the request for the travel policy. I want to take those individual votes.
Give those to me again.
The resolution to add the contract, employment contract between the council and the city clerk. Transition clerk, it's a corresponding piece with your ordinance read tonight, making the clerk a contract employee. The second one is the professional services contract to hire Element CPA firm for professional services at a rate of $175 per hour to help us during the transition period for the month of September to help us close out our books and help finalize the 2020 budget during this month of transition at estimated 29 hours of service for the month of September. It'll be no net increase on the budget. And the third issue is the travel budget that's been requested to come back before.
Thank you, sir.
Travel policy.
I'm gonna take them one at a time. Contract with the city clerk, I need a motion to add that to the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we consider or take action on adding the issuance of an employment contract for the city clerk appointment.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Henry?
Can we get a number on that resolution? Do you know what number it's going to be?
Ms. Williams?
I don't issue numbers, I'm not sure.
I will issue that.
If you'll get that resolution number for us, please, ma'am.
Did you need that number now?
Yes,
Mayor?
ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yep. I see what you're getting. I'm sorry. That's my fault. I'll take it. I need that resolution number. I thought she was going to use it. Make sure. Is it 2019-15?
That's right, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Any more discussion on that? All in favor? Turn. Pass 6-0. Professional service, LEA, is that correct, Mr. City Manager?
No, Element CPA.
Element CPA, okay, financial. Okay, I need a motion to approve or disapprove.
I'll motion to add.
To add to the agenda, thank you, correct.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we add resolution 2019-16 to the agenda for the purpose of approving or discussion of Element CPA firms.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? We had it at the end of the new business. The travel policy. Resolution number 201908, is that correct, Ms. City Clerk?
Yes.
I have a motion to approve.
To add.
To add it to, I'm sorry, to add to the agenda. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion?
Is it possible that we can move this until the next meeting, table it till the next meeting? We just got this afternoon, I would like to read over it again to make sure that before I do anything. I don't have a problem looking at it and doing, but I'd like to be able to have a little more time.
This,
We already have a motion and a second on the floor.
all in favor? All opposed? 3-3, and I'm gonna give Henry time to look it over, and I'm gonna vote it down this time. Okay, so that's, okay. Anything else before we move on to old business? Consideration and action on speed hump on Collinsville Drive in Hampton, Georgia. Public hearing was held on July the 9th, 2019. Public Works, Don Sprague.
Yes, sir. Our, ordinance states that 75% of the residents in the area need to have a vote. Caldwell, subdivision area has 108 lots, which would have taken 81 signatures. We only received 25 signatures, so it didn't meet our requirement.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any more discussion? I need a motion to approve or disapprove. It didn't meet the requirements, so.
Mayor, I'm just looking at the code, forgive me, but, if it didn't meet the requirements, I guess my question is, how did it even get on the agenda? So I'm just going to look at your ordinances to determine if it should even be before you.
Okay.
It's, Article 4 of Chapter 74, is what talks about your speed hump. And once the public hearing is done, and the formal petition and the number of signatures required under section 74-56, a minimum of 75% of the property owners must indicate an affirmative preference for the speed hump. And then it tells you how to calculate those, that percentage. Those petitions failing to meet specified requirements will be returned to the representative for compliance. I'm not sure if that was done in this case. Petitions meeting requirements will be presented at the next regular city council meeting for approval or disapproval. So I think the first step is to make sure the petition is returned back to the residents to see if they can get the additional signatures to meet the percentage. If they don't, then it never gets to the board.
Thank you, ma'am. Move on, old business, consideration and action on adoption of ordinance number 478, second reading, amending downtown parking regulations. Mr. City Manager.
This is your second read, I believe, that the Article Place has met with legal and since the first read, amendment that was made during the first read by Councilwoman Tarpon, and I believe it was seconded, and I'll refer to Ms. Williams as far as the changes that were made permitting for those that live on the street. Chief of Police has canvassed the entire area, all the residents that live on that street, and spoken to them, and each of them have indicated support for the policy, and they will, have worked out that they would, that a permit would be issued to those residents that live there that would come apply at the, police department, you would sticker that would be displayed on the windshield. And, so the police department did its due diligence, and, it's been, widely supported by the residents that live there. Ms. Williams could address any of the, amendments, the language that was, corrected from the first reading.
Yes, so at the last meeting, when this came before you, there were some questions, not only from the council, but also from citizens about the execution of this ordinance. And so, and as you know, the chief wasn't here at that meeting, but he was represented by his department on what the wishes were of the department in regulating this. I do have to tell you that changes were made based on the meeting and the comments made, but those changes are not reflected in your book. I'm not sure why they didn't get there, as I sent them to the city on August 2nd. And so what's in the agenda packet doesn't reflect the changes, based on the meeting. I certainly would like for you to see those, so you can make an informed vote, obviously, on the second read. I'm happy to read those to you, or if we can get them up on the screen, but the change was that parking restrictions imposed, and it's at 82-7B, park any vehicle, it shall be unlawful for any person to park any vehicle in any parallel parking space along both sides of East Main Street for no longer than 2 hours from 8 to 5:30 p.m. through Friday. The second prohibition is park any commercial vehicle as defined by zoning code section 3-24 in the downtown district for any amount of time except when the commercial vehicle is actively engaged in pickup or delivery. The last prohibition is park any vehicle overnight from the hours of 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the downtown district except when the vehicle is that of a downtown district resident or resident guest and has a city-issued pass affixed to said vehicle.
The issues I want to remind what we were having, where we're having some, commercial vehicles will be parked there for multiple days, multiple nights. It was no longer becoming an issue of parking, it was becoming an issue of commercial storage. And other business owners who have vehicles have, they comply. They rent storage space for their vehicles that are not being used. So you would have an example like this one, is a vehicle that was obviously parked illegally, was too close to, in this body was too close to a stop sign. So it was been multiple days, just on and on and on. It became an issue of storage. And these are the days that it went unrelenting, day and night, day and night, day and night. And so it became a storage issue, not a parking issue. So we received multiple complaints, both from residents and other businesses, that felt like it was impacting their ability for their customers to come and be able to access, their retail customers being able to access their businesses. So it's just kind of grown from there. So we tried to strike a happy medium. The overnight parking for residents was to address those folks that lived in the loft and those folks that live off the street behind there. So we tried to strike a happy medium and address the concerns, because there were some valid concerns that were raised both by council members. I know Councilmember Mitchell raised some issues and Councilmember Tarpley raised some issues. And so here are the affected areas that would be in this district. Chief has put together the areas that would be affected, and this is a nice overhead shot. This defines the district's kind of part of our overall plan for the downtown district. Again, it's mainly trying to address the issue where certain folks tend to take advantage of, and it becomes a storage issue rather than a parking issue. Most cities have ordinances governing the active loading and unloading of parking. As a matter of fact, we had several folks speak publicly at this podium. Matter of fact, when we had the presentation on Rosie Main, talking about the Rosie Main development and what would the city do to ensure that we wouldn't have commercial vehicles that were servicing the new retail space that would be developed, to make sure that they would only be parking for active loading and unloading, wouldn't be obstructing our streets and impeding traffic. So that's the general gist behind this. Now, I've we've addressed it. Have no explanation for why we had clerical error tonight. We didn't get updated in the books, but we can correct the Scrivener's error and make sure that it is corrected, and you know clearly what you're voting on. But the attorney has clarified it here for you and addressed your verbal amendments that you offered at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. City Manager. I need a motion to approve or deny second reading of ordinance number 478.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 478 as amended at the last, to include those items that we added in the last meeting, the first reading.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? Mr. Byrd?
I would like to make an amendment to the motion to add at section 1, number 3, to add all business in the downtown district will be assigned designated parking spaces for vehicles associated with their businesses. And these spaces will be assigned by the city manager, and the chief of police will make those determinations and location.
Do I have a second to Mr. Byrd's amendment?
You don't vote on the first motion and second. He's amending your motion to add that, and you're adding that to the one I just read out.
Do I have a second for Mr. Byrd's motion? You second, Mr. Turner?
Mr. Byrd, I do have a question. Will it be subject to the same 2-hour limit? No, okay.
Michelle, second, Mr. Turner? Okay.
I got one other question. Is the 2-hour limit going to still stay, or is it going away?
It's you cannot park longer than 2 hours, the way the revision reads, between the hours of 8 and 5:30 in parallel spaces on both sides of East Main.
So let's need to vote on Mr. Byrd's amendment first, Ms. Wiggins?
Did you get a second?
Yes, I did, Mr. Turner.
Yes, vote on, the amendment.
Then, any discussion on the amendment? Ms. Moody?
My question is on this 11 to 7 a.m. because on Friday evenings, Terramia does not close till 11 o'clock, so they still have customers at that time. I've been told that the girls closing and stuff, they don't leave till 12:30, 1 o'clock on Friday night. Most nights, it's midnight, 12:30 when they leave. What happens in that case? Are they just allowed to search the employees? Is it something that police are often going to have to just make exceptions to? Oh, they're working in there, they're late closing, they have people in there cleaning. I don't want to create a law that's going to put the officers in spots where they have to say, are you here? Do the residents understand that if they have an overnight guest, that guest has to go get a parking sticker to send their late? Because that's the questions I've gotten.
The chief, as it pertains to the employees, they are aware that the restaurants are open late and the employees are there. This town is small, so the chief's well aware of who comes and goes. Police officers patrolling the beat know that. It's mainly designed to stop an overnight, where they're parked at 7 o'clock and the same vehicles there at 7 o'clock.
trust me, the police aren't looking to issue, you know, they're not there with a stopwatch trying to catch someone by the minute. It is when you see somebody there hour after hour, day after day. This is again, way back to what I said from the beginning, trying to stop when someone's trying to convert of using a parking leniency and turning it from parking into long-term storage. That's what it's designed to address. As it pertains to the visitation issue, that's all being worked out with the chief and the permit commission. We can issue a visitor's permit. That's all easily handled administratively.
Any more discussion? Mr. Brown?
So, Mr. Mayor, my question is related to the amendment. So, I understand that we want to assign parking spaces to the business owners, all the business owners on Main Street. So, if that's the case, then the business owners, I guess, can use whatever parking spaces assigned to them for whatever purpose. So how is that gonna address the initial issue of commercial vehicles on Main Street for a extended period of time? That doesn't seem like it's gonna fix the problem.
Am I understanding your motion, Mr. Byrd, is that it would be a designated space designated by the city manager and the chief of police, and it's restricted only to those business owners that operate a business in the city?
Right, with a commercial vehicle that belongs to that business owner.
But it's only to allow overnight parking,
Yes.
not endless storage?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Right.
But the space is to be designated by the city manager and the chief?
Yes.
Okay, so that's an administrative decision, where that location of that parking will take place.
I just want to say, because I was approached by a truck driver wanting to park in the field. Their trucks, pretty much storage, like the same, in the field. Overnight, I mean, I did tell him that he can't do that, but of course, we're just kind of tightening the laws up to say that we cannot do it. I know in the past, others have been able to do it, and that's kind of what the issue is. Some is able to do it, and some are not able to do it. I was maybe a little, jump the gun in regards to telling them, no, they cannot park in the city's old public workshop field, because that's not what I would like to see, and I'm hoping that's what we pass tonight. But, of course, it's really left up to the council, but those are some of the things that we're trying to make sure that there's not an ambiguous thing, and we're not doing one thing for one person and something for somebody else. But, so.
Mr. Mitchell? Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
The thing is we're only allowing the actual businesses in downtown, not somebody that lives in a subdivision somewhere that wants to come in and park vehicles on city property. Just like we do for the residents, we allow the residents to park overnight. So all I'm saying is let the businesses that is in the downtown area have that option as well.
Any more discussion? Okay. We're voting on the amendment for Mr. Byrd and, excuse me, thank you, Mr. Turner. Any more discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Did you vote for it or against it? You voted for it.
You're voting on Mr. Bird's amendment.
No, you're voting for Mr. Bird's amendment, okay? All opposed?
As long as it's an administrative decision. But Mr. Cohill to decide where the parking will be. Well, definitely.
That was the
Right.
motion.
That's in the motion. Are you voting for it, Mr. Turner, or against it? All opposed to it? It passes 4-2, the amendment. Go ahead and restate your motion now.
My motion was to approve the second read of ordinance 478, now with the amended version to allow.
I'm not sure how you're gonna vote. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ms. Carter, but if the amendment passes, then the original motion, it, even if it passes, it's gonna conflict, you see what I mean? So we can't have both.
Withdraw the motion?
No, the amendment is dead. So basically, what you currently have is your second read of 82-7. We'll have the three, prohibitions that I read earlier with the allowance of commercial overnight parking being allowed, with a designated space assigned by city manager and, police chief, to downtown commercial business owners, for a commercial vehicle assigned to the said business. Does that get to your?
So we don't have that.
No, that's it.
But all the other information will still be there as far as the street and all that stuff, as far as the parking.
Yes.
All that's still there.
Let me ask something. I misunderstood that. I thought in addition to what we had there.
It is, Mr. Turner, so you still keep everything I read, you're just now allowing commercial vehicles, a commercial vehicle assigned to a downtown
Yeah,
business.
but it's also include overnight parking, and that's what we're trying to eliminate.
Or only the business owners.
We were trying to get business owners allowed to park there, doing loading and unloading for 2 hours, something like that. Why would they need to park overnight?
Mr. Bird's amendment wants to allow a downtown business owner a commercial vehicle parking space to park overnight, is what just passed.
Can I withdraw my second?
I will defer to the mayor on that.
Well, I'm going to defer to you because he's already voted, he voted for the amendment. And I'm gonna have to stand with you, unless you tell me it's against the law, I'm gonna stand.
I mean, we've done this before where there has been confusion and this is your meeting, Mayor, if you're gonna open it back up.
I'm not gonna go back, I'm gonna
If
hold
not,
to the vote.
that's on you.
I'm gonna hold to the vote, it passed 4-2. Moving on. Consideration and action on adoption of ordinance 479, second reading, amending the city zone ordinance to update the kill and replace sections of current zoning ordinance existing in appendix A, B, and C regarding landscaping, planned development districts, public spaces, porches, stoops, timber harvesting, subdivision of partial signs, and the definition section. Stacy?
Mr. Mayor, council members, this had come before you for the first reading, and the city attorney had made what we consider to be appropriate changes to it. I'm not aware of any subsequent changes to it. We recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, sir. I need a motion to approve or disapprove.
I make a motion to approve the second read of ordinance number 479.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Councilman Byrd?
I haven't seen where it's in there or not, but is the sign ordinance in with all this stuff, or does it take it out? I thought we decided at the last meeting that we was gonna take that out.
Mr. Third, that was not my recollection. The real language, planning staff had reservations, strong reservations that were addressed by the city attorney, and so that language is in this before you tonight for the second reading. We have no objection to the attorney's language. We recommend approval.
Okay.
And it was in the first reading.
do have,
I thought there was a discussion on it, and it was taken, was decided not to act on that at this time.
Not what I recall.
Council Bowden?
Mr. Mayor, when these changes came about last fall and we had this vote, CSW had helped write it, I reached out to Woody Giles and said, I just want to share some things he shared with me today. He wants everyone to know that changes to the PD chapter are unnecessary and will create serious issues for the city. He would have come, but he had some notes to share. He said, the existing code already allows for everything that is being allowed. Doing this will create contradictions throughout the code and cause serious problems or open up the city to lawsuits. I recommend that this not be passed. If the council wants to reinstate the PD district, I highly recommend they hire a consultant to write it to avoid conflict and legal issues. Another thing he said that I wanted to share, the definition of subdivision in the Stormwater Ordinance, Section 9, is based on a state model ordinance and should not be changed. There's one more. Are there any changes being made to the zoning map? If so, that is unclear and a map should be attached because Section 10 references the map, and is that changed?
Stacy, I'll let you address those.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Planning staff evaluated the request, and it seemed to be written very carefully, and we recommended approval with the understanding that there would be further discussion and revisions, and that has happened, and it seems to have happened very thoughtfully. The consultant, with all due respect, and I have a lot of respect for Mr. Giles, I would prefer, and I would think that the council would defer to your counsel, your city attorney, to determine what is legal and what is not. I have to say, I really don't understand why the definitions for subdivision were different in 3 different areas of the code, but I understand that Frank was trying to address some concerns, so I didn't want to second guess that. But if it passes the muster of the city attorney, we have no objection to that. And it's my understanding that the official zoning map will not be changed.
Stacy, I have a question for you. Up underneath, number 2, under the objection, it's got, the range and the type of residence include size and type of houses, types of ownership and community facilities. Conservation of natural, topographic, and geological features with emphasis on, and it gives 3 items. I want to know, I didn't see anything in this PD in regard to preserving the wetlands, the floodplains, and the stream buffers. Would it be all right if we add that language there as well?
Yes, I don't think, I can't say for sure that it's necessary, but if that is intended to be an objective of the plan development zoning district, then yes, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay. I would like to add that to the
Can you tell me where you're reading from?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not looking at the same page as you. I'm sorry. Up under section 5, letter B, number 2, you have I, 1, 2, and 3. You want to add a 4th one? Do you see that?
I do conservation of wetlands.
Yes. To preserve the wetlands, floodplains, and stream buffers. wanted to make sure that under PD, it would definitely mention those wetlands and floodplains developers, just to be for sure that they were going to be protected.
Okay, any more discussion? Mr. Burton?
On the PD, section 5, on E, maximum density, it says maximum density allowable net density is the total number of dwelling units or housing structures per unit of land based on the net land area. I think that we should put in there that minus roads, the right-of-way, detention ponds, and wetlands need to be taken out of that total land area before they figure density.
So there's a definition, that's the definition for max density here.
Any more?
One more thing,
Okay.
that I wanted to do. I'm sorry.
Before you go with that, repeat what you said, Mr. Burton.
So, my point, the main point is I can have a 5-acre piece of property and have a 10-acre lake. And I could say, well, I got 15 acres, so I can take the net density and figure the number of houses that I can put on that piece of property. And you've got to take out your roads, you have all your right-of-ways, detention, retention ponds, wetlands, all that has to be taken out of the equation when you figure how many houses you can put on that property.
Okay, track.
I just wanted to add that the roads, retention ponds, wetlands, and will be taken out of the land area to configure the density as far as houses.
So the density, even if you leave all of that, what Mr. Burge just said in, the density of the piece of property in regard to how many is going to be able to fit on a piece of property. You can't build inside a wetland, floodplains and things of that nature. So the density, taking that out, it defeats the purpose of putting that in. If it's already built in that you can't build in a floodplain, the max density, no matter how many acres you have, you can't build in the floodplain. That's what our new code tells.
You've got roads you gotta take out, you got retention ponds, detention ponds, all that needs to be taken out, and the county does the same thing. We've always done that in the past. I just wanna make sure that it is defined in here that's what, there's been some controversy about that, people saying stuff about it. You can't just take, if you've got 40 acres, and say, okay, I got 40 acres, I can build 91 houses on that 40 acres. You may have to take 10 acres out of that 40 acres because of wetlands, the road right-of-ways, retention, detention ponds. If you require a playground area, you've got to take that out. And then you figure your density off of that figure, not the total from the beginning. Because you could stack all kind of houses in a smaller area by using that 40 acres instead of what it actually would be, probably 30.
Stacy, it's coming to you.
Yes, sir. I think the key hinges on, the code says that it's based upon the net usable acres.
The definition of the code.
If it were gross, I think we would have, entering that first. I'm looking for in the code where it defines this, and maybe that'll address your concern. But gross would include everything, right? It would include roads and wetlands and all the stuff that you just named. But net takes out that stuff that's not buildable. But I think there's a definition that I'm allowed from time to time.
I have that.
Oh, you do?
I do. Ruth Hernandez was able to find that in the new zoning code. The definition for net usable acres is the total acreage of any parcel or combined parcels of land to be developed as a single development, less the sum of the total number of acres contained in the 100-year flood hazard area total number of acres containing the right of way for roads, and the total number of acres containing the detention or retention ponds to be constructed.
Well, like I say, the reason why I said this is because this has came up on other properties in different zoning spots in our codes. And it doesn't say it in R2, R3, it says it in, I think it says it in RM, or RE, it says it in one of them, but that's the only place that it says it. And they said, well, it don't specify that in R2. I just wanted to make sure that covers all zoning. R1, R2, R3, it doesn't matter, all that has to come out.
So we're not just dealing with R1, R2, and R3. This covers PD.
Correct.
Okay, any more discussion? I have a motion. Okay, go ahead. Councilman Thompson.
Laren,
Yes, ma'am.
also up underneath general requirements for planned development district, is I, letter I, general requirements for a planned development district.
I'm there.
Number 3, location of a PD district. The PD district shall be applicable to areas located on major arterial roads and where public waters and sewage facilities are available and installed. I would like to take out major arterial roads because there's no definition given for arterial roads. So, areas located where public water and sewage facilities are available as well.
Mr. Jordan?
It's in the future land use map of the comprehensive plan. It's a joint plan between the county and the city. It's actually, you can look at it like an overlay over the future land use map. It's the functional road plan. And so a major arterial is any state route, but then also designated routes such as Hampton Orchard Grove Road and other major roads would be designated on the functional road plan that's illustrated on the future land.
Any more discussion? I have a motion made by Councilman Hartley, and seconded, I believe, by Mr. Brown.
And does that motion include all these changes I just heard?
Yes, ma'am. Do you make me able to add those two?
Oh, no, well, I'm gonna add what I said.
I guess a revised motion would probably be in order.
Okay, so you need a motion, okay?
Okay, so I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 479 for the second read to include number 4 under section 5, letter B, number 2, to read preservation of wetlands, floodplains, and stream buffers. I also add in section section 5, letter I, number 3, to remove major arterial roads.
Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Turner. Any more discussion? Mr. Byrd?
Can we not separate this stuff and vote on this, on each individual thing instead of, because this covers, I mean, there's eight or nine different things we're voting on, and some things I might want to vote for, and some things I don't. So I'm not gonna vote for it if it's not separated out, because I don't agree with some of it. So you got article, section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got all those sections that we're voting on all at one time, and I don't agree with all of them. I'm not gonna vote for it if I can't separate them out. I mean, that's up to y'all if you want to do it. I'll go that way.
Any more discussion?
I mean, it's not awful, but it's all under one ordinance.
Right.
So you would be approving the second read of the ordinance potentially with some, none, or all the changes. So,
I guess my concern, Mr. Mayor, is this. I don't think very many of us up here are qualified to make these changes. I think we need to leave this up to the experts who do that and then recommend those changes to us to vote on. Because if we're gonna nitpick it, a lot of these things are covered in other places that overlap the code. So it's not that you gotta get in the weeds here in this one ordinance. So I think we're good. I don't know.
Okay, well, I have a motion and a second at this time.
We had experts that came up with all this software before all these plans came out and were changed.
Have a motion and a second. Okay, all in favor? All opposed? One, two, three opposed. And I'm gonna, at this time, oppose this, and vote it down. Consideration and actual adoption of ordinance number 481, reading to amend City Code Section 2-120. Ms. Wiggins is.
This is also a second read from last month, and this was to change a change that was put forth by your former city manager about, supervision of certain departments, and department heads. And so, based on what was discussed back in July, this would go back to how the code originally read.
And then the motion to approve or deny?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance 481.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, passes 5-1. Okay, going to new business. Property tax presentation by the Henry County Tax Commission, Mr. Michael Harris, I believe he's here, and City Manager, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, this is our last comment about what the mayor and city councilwoman were going to do about the potential property tax increase pursuant to those public comments. You invited the tax commissioner to come here to City Hall and have a meeting with us. He was gracious enough to come with his staff. We also invited the chief tax appraiser. We had a meeting. He made an explanation to us, and he graciously agreed to come here and put on a presentation tonight so that he can explain to our citizens what is actually happening and explain what the millage is, how it's calculated for impact. And without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Tax Commissioner Michael Harris, and he can tell me about the presentation.
Mr. Harris, bring your team, bring all your experts forward.
Good evening, Mayor, good evening, council members. Just myself and the county's chief appraiser, Mr. John Self, is also here.
Okay.
Forgotten how enjoyable these school council meetings have been. It's been a couple of years, so again, thank you for the opportunity. We always appreciate the opportunity to come out and just provide information. If nothing else, I think we kind of tamp down this information that we're putting out there. So, relatively brief, I'm going to go through the same presentation that we used during the millage hearings. Just kind of walk through real quick and open up for any. What is the millage rate? Quite simply, it's the millage rate by the taxes, tax rates that are used to calculate our local property taxes. Simplified definition of that. The rate represents an amount a homeowner has to pay for every $1,000 of property assessed value. The assessed value includes both the house itself, the structure, as well as the land that sits on both real and the personal property. Fair market value. See this often. Fair market value is determined by the tax assessor's office, and yourself and his office make that determination. In April, the tax assessors will mail, everyone should have received their valuations and assessments back in April, and taxpayers have 45 days to appeal the decision if they think it should be, needs to be questioned at all. Assessed values are calculated by multiplying your fair market value. So once that fair market value is determined, simply taking that value and multiplying by 40%. that determines your assessed value. Just quickly want to go through some of the exemptions that are realized. The most common homestead exemptions from L1 for property owners. If you own your home, you can realize the $15,000 homestead exemption. Again, you have to apply for it, but you also own your home. Disability exemption, disabled veterans exemption. Last year was $85,645. That changes annually. That's determined by the state. Surviving spouse, a peace officer, firefighter, those are full exemptions. And the age exemptions that most folks are often familiar with. These are applied deducted from the school taxes only. And those occur at age 62, 65, 68, and at age 70, you are fully exempt from all school taxes. You do have to apply at the age of 62, and subsequent years are automatically rolled in. Exactly. But you have to come back and apply for that 62 age exemption. Frozen exemption, there's been a lot of conversation in this year in regards to frozen exemption. I'm going to touch on it just briefly. It came about based on legislation from the Board of Commissioners back in 2004. It was voted on in 2004 by the Board of Commissioners and enacted in 2005. And what frozen exemption does is it freezes your value based on your year that you file for homestead exemption. So if you purchase a home in 2010, the fair market value year 2010 will be capped at whatever that rate is. We'll kind of go through an example in just a moment. But there has been quite a bit of conversation about that. It's not really spoken about. People ask, do I have to apply for the frozen exemption? You do not. The moment you apply for a homestead exemption, you're automatically rolled into the frozen exemption provision as well. And I will say, Henry County is one of only 13 counties that offers a frozen provision. So it is an additional, beyond the age exemptions that most jurisdictions utilize. The frozen exemption is an additional layer of an exemption that gets benefit for those who are long-time county residents. Three-point exemption, again, that will apply to a lot of our industrial properties, conservation and forest land protection exemption as well. Assessed value. So in the next couple of weeks, the tax bills will be going out, and I do want to touch briefly on how that tax bill is calculated. So taking that assessed value we talked about with fair market value divided by 40%, minus any exemptions that may apply, that times your millage rate, that determines what taxes you'll be paying. So we're going to go through a couple examples that are coming up. Calculations on county portion of the property tax bill. So a homesteaded property with a fair market value of $200,000. Again, so the fair market value would be $200,000 times the 40% would leave an assessed value of $80,000. From that $80,000, because they filed for homestead and they have the basic L1 exemption at $15,000, that $15,000 is deducted from the homestead, from the assessed value. So you're only being taxed on $65,000 in those cases. I apologize, I didn't change this line up. Should have been by the actual adopted millage rate. So 65,000 times, in this case, what was being considered at the time was a millage rate of 12.995. So the actual multiplier is 0.102995, which would leave a county tax of $845.68. A non-homesteaded property, and this gives an idea of what that difference can mean from homesteaded versus non-homesteaded. A non-homesteaded property with a fair market value of $300,000. Again, the fair market value times 40% would be $120 would be your assessed value. Again, because you're not, and you'd be taxed off that $120 assessed value if there's no exemption that would apply. So it's critically important. I always like to make sure, emphasize the point. If you own your home, please make sure you file, whatever possible filing for your homestead exemption. Just talked about, who's involved in the millage rate process, different taxing authorities within the county. That's the millage rate. Board of Education, obviously, the biggest millage rate out there is the Board of Education, 20 mil. That's where the maintenance and operations and the bond, the water authority, and the county. And This just simply gives a breakdown of how our taxes are distributed. So as distributions come in, as funding comes in, you'll see that the vast majority of the funds that come in are distributed to the school board for maintenance operations. That's 50% of all taxes, all tax revenues received goes towards funding our school system. Another 8% also goes to funding the bond associated with for school improvements. We have a bond that accounts for 8% of that amount. And then Water Authority, they also have a Water Authority bond that equates to 5% of the overall distribution. And the remaining portion is the county government, 37%. Is this the answer? So setting the millage rate, once the budget, in this case, the county their budget back in, it was April, May timeframe. And once the budget is established the millage rate, so you take the budget divided by your net assessed value, and that gives you your millage rate. So you have to kind of work your millage rate to make sure you have a millage rate that's going to be able to fund your budget. Conversation that took place this year quite a bit was simply whether or not the initial proposed millage rate was 12.995, which would have been an increase from last year's 12.733. However, after going through and looking at the valuations, it was determined that if they were to leave the millage rate frozen at 12.733, then it would generate just about enough money to cover the cost for the county budget. I think they had a shortfall of roughly $160,000. So, and this gave a couple different scenarios based on the different millage rates that were being considered. You can see what was being considered initially at 12.995, a home valued at $200,000 with the homestead would generate $844.68 in county taxes, as opposed to the millage rate of 12.733. And what that difference is, again, bear in mind, this is only county tax we're talking about. Now, what school board has to spend 20 mils, this is those county taxes. Did want to touch on this just briefly. This gives an idea of how far we've had to go to get back to where we are right now, particularly as it relates to values. You'll see in 2008 on the top row, in the very top row is county values. In 2008 were valued at $6.77 billion. And as we all know, the recession hit during those years, and there was a steady decrease in valuation from 2008 to 2013. The valuations went from $6.7 billion down to $4.7 billion. It wasn't until the year 2014 when we started to see that uptake start swinging back around and start to recover. So I put this up here simply to kind of emphasize it wasn't until 2018, 10 years later, that we actually got back to the value that we were back in 2008. So oftentimes when people ask, people have said, well, why is it I bought my home in 2006, 2007, and so, but I've seen over the last few years, I've seen my tax bill go up. What about the frozen provision? Because typically, if you bought your home at the height of the value, and may have been valued at $200,000, you were frozen at $200,000. But when the value dropped down to say $100,000, you were only taxed on that new value, that lower value. So the frozen provision only kicks in when you go when your fair market value, fair market value exceeds that of what your basic value was. So just wanted to make the point though that how the sway that we've had in our county values over a span of 10, 11 years. Digest, I'm happy to report that we just, as of last Friday, had our digest approved by the state. The digest was submitted. This is really a joint effort. We work in conjunction with Mr. Self and his office, the Board of Commissioners, the Board of Education, and Georgia Department of Revenue. They have final approval. Again, responsible authorities, tax commissioner, myself, Mr. Self and his office, the Board of Commissioners, County Board of Education, and certainly all of the municipalities as well. The role of the Commission Board of Education, they establish their annual budget. They're responsible for setting the millage rates and advertising and holding public hearings. Again, county, cities go through a similar process as well and have to make a determination how they're gonna set the millage rates. Again, this kind of identifies some of the specific, duties that each side does on the board of special side as well as on our side of the, timing, you know, it's critical. We do have some hard dates as it relates to, the adoption of the millage. So we strive to make sure we have our adopted at the county level by no later than July 31st rather. This year it's August 1st, so we have a day. And as you see, adoption was on August 1st. And this is kind of gives you an idea of what the public hearing schedule was. We held two public hearings on July 16th, and 9 in the morning, 6 in the evening, and another one on August 1st, that morning of August 1st at 10 a.m. And we really thought we'd have a move forward with the adoption. So I know I ran through kind of a little bit of information fairly quickly, but just wanted to give you a quick overview on the process. And again, in speaking with the mayor and county manager and city manager, there were some questions and wanted to kind of come in and address those issues. You know, the thing to bear in mind is the decision that was made by the board of commission this year was to maintain our the millage rate at 12.773, which has been fixed now for 4 years, 4 or 5 years, 4 years. So there's been no change to the millage rate. The rate has not changed. What has changed has been the value of property, and so what people are seeing, and when the assessments came in, I'm sure everyone saw that their property value just continued to trend upward. So, and again, the great news is, your property's worth more money. You know, the flip of that is, you know, with that, there's more taxes that are due. But again, when you factor in the frozen provision, bear in mind quite often, the only area you're being taxed on is that, because the frozen provision does not apply to the Board of Education. So that 20 mils from the Board of Education and their bond, and their school bond, that's where that valuation will still be, that new valuation will still be applied to that Board of Education millage. Frozen provision does impact both the county millage rate as well as the water authority bond rate. So that provision is assigned to those areas. So I'm happy to address any questions you may have. Again, certainly on the millage rate, the setting of the digest and go back process. Myself, Mr. Self, he handles his department handle all evaluations as relates to preparing the digest and setting the millage. So, okay, that address your question.
Have any questions for any council people? Go ahead, Henry.
So if you have a house that you built 20 years ago,
yes,
but how did they determine this frozen thing you're talking about?
Yes.
So does that start at what time, what year?
Yeah, it's a great point. So any home that was built or purchased prior to the effective date of 2005, it depends on your base year becomes 2005. Yeah, so if you purchased your home, if you built your home, and you applied, and again, not just the day that you purchase it, but the day that you actually apply for homestead. So if you applied for homestead in the year 2000, the provision wasn't in place then, so all those that were homesteaded properties in 2005, that became that base year. So the value may have likely increased. So the value of your home may have been $150,000 in the year 2000, but by 2005 it may have been $125,000. That would become your frozen base year amount.
Any other questions? I do. Michael, the reason I got involved in this is when you sent the tax digest to us, and it was 15 point something, and I thought, okay, I didn't understand it, but actually the property values in Hampton have increased, is what I'm hearing from you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they went up 15% in property value.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask Tom to come up and kind of address specifically the valuation. His office actually handles all valuations, so I'm gonna address that. Sure.
Mayor?
How's it doing?
I think specifically for Hampton, it was about 13.48%. That's real growth and inflation growth, so that's new home, new lots that there are in it, and then the market value increase from the existing sales that we use in developing market value. So, I'm sorry.
You pull it out there if you need to.
I can speak really loud.
Speak really loud.
Sorry. So, I'll start over. Hampton was about 13.48%, and that is, we express growth in two ways, real growth and inflationary growth. The real growth is the new homes, new lots that are established, and then the inflationary growth are the reappraisals from sales that we use to work through the appraisal process to generate value. We're required to do that by Georgia law and the rules and regulations of the Department of Revenue. We are independent of counties and cities. I work for the Board of Assessors. That's who I work for. And we're audited every year by the Georgia Department of Audit and Accounts. They come in, look at our numbers, and we have to have meet statistical requirements within that.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
So are you saying to the citizens that in 1 year, because you're doing assessment each year?
Yes, ma'am.
So in 1 year in the city of Hampton, our property value increased 13.4
In residential.
in residential, that's what I'm saying, residential.
That's mostly.
So, and a lot of that is based on the homes that's being built here. The value is increasing everybody's.
No.
No, okay.
No, we would use similar comparables for similar homes.
Right.
That makes sense. So if we had older homes that were located inside the city limits of Hampton, we would try to find those sales that would be similar in age, condition, and so forth. And then obviously new subdivisions or newer homes within subdivisions, the same process. What we look for is similar, and then adjust for the difference.
You're actually saying that in 1 year, everyone in Hampton can benefit from the increase.
Say that again?
You mentioned that everyone in Hampton has, property have increased.
Yes. I don't know if it's, I think this is expressed as an average. Some may have gone down, some may have gone up more. This is an average growth. Again, year over year,
So the majority-
within residential.
So the majority have increased.
Majority would see an increase, yes, sir.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Councilor Carlson.
I just want to make sure, can you tell me, or do you remember, what was the percentage of change from last year? Yes.
I do. It was actually, I can't be exact, but it was a little over 10%. And as Mr. Harris alluded to, you know, we're just now getting what we would call really healthy as far as real estate market, in terms of where we were prior to the collapse. So we're just now getting healthy.
Councilman Byrd.
Maybe you can explain this to me, because I haven't figured it out. If you're in the neighborhood and your taxes go up 9%, but one of your neighbor's taxes go up 25%, I'm not really sure how that works. How can one house in the same neighborhood built at the same time go up 3 times more than one of the other houses in the same neighborhood?
Yeah, that would be hard to address without looking at each of them, you know, individually, really going through. I mean, some of the things, when you start talking about taxes, as Mr. Harris alluded to, the exemptions can have a huge impact.
I was just talking about value.
Value, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. You could have properties that come off of a transaction value, transaction value loss. You could have a piece of property that was under a 299C freeze for 3 years based off an appeal that was won potentially. I don't know without looking at it. It would be hard to answer. It happens. It does happen.
Mr. Turner.
It would also be based on the condition of the house.
Yes, sir.
You know, I take care of my property, and the neighbor, they go down, then my house is worth more because I kept my stuff. And the value of the home's gonna be different, I don't care if they next door.
In a perfect world, yes, it doesn't, the market doesn't always react that way.
Well, no,
But I agree with you.
I can't sell my house for the same as he sell his, cause his looking like crap. I have mine up to date, he don't expect to get the same amount I get.
Any more questions? I do have one, and when you assess a street, like, I'm just gonna take down the street, do you assess every house on that street, or do you just pick out the whole new house?
We revalue the entire county. That's all of the property. And just, I think, conceptually for you guys, we break the Hampton, I have teams that do different sections of the county. Hampton is not isolated, Stockbridge is not isolated. Hampton is within an area that one of my team handles. So, yeah, they do all of it.
Okay. Any more questions? Thank you, sir, and thank you, Mr. Harris, I believe you believe on the line.
Yes, as I said, we have, information on property taxes, the right utilities, to be out for everyone. Now, there's an idea, now what we're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Moving on to the new business, 2018 financial audit report, presentation completed by Fulton Kozak, CPA, city manager, and finance director.
Thank you. Well, we're about halfway through. We'll be taking an offering soon. I want to introduce this evening two very important people. First of all, Millie Shaw, our finance director, who's working diligently with our outside auditors, Fulton Kozak. She'll be bringing to the podium Jeff Kozak, who will do a live overview of the 2018 audited numbers which you have before you. We had to have a couple of extensions due to all the turmoil that the city underwent last year and finally getting our books audited. But due to all the heavy lifting of Ms. Shaw and her staff, we're finally able to get our books audited in a proper and professional manner. And we have an audited report with an executive summary contained therein with some good recommendations of what we need to do to improve going forward. We also have management's letter, which I signed in return, which pledges to make the improvements which were pointed out to me as your city manager going forward, so that the 2019 audited report will reflect the improvements called for in this report. Without any further ado, Ms. Shaw, if you would come with Mr. Kozak.
It's actually full.
Oh, folks, yeah. I picked the wrong partner.
That's right.
Sorry.
He's gonna go over just the overall findings of the audit and then again, there'll be a
All right, it's a pleasure to see you guys tonight. As city manager pointed out, the process was delayed somewhat, but in the end, the big thing is that you have audited financial statements, and they're ready. I'm assuming they've been submitted wherever they need to be submitted. We've done our part and audited the financial statements. A couple of highlights, I would say, that they're presented fairly in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles. We didn't have any disagreements with management. To our knowledge, they didn't consult with any outside accountants. They accepted all the proposed journal entries that we proposed. And I would like to add that Ms. Shaw did a great job in putting it all together, and the number of proposed journal entries we had to make was significantly less in this year than in years past. Although it took longer, although the process has been delayed, once the process started, it moved along very quickly. From the time we started until the time we finished was 2 months, which is really very good, considering our history here with Hampton. It usually takes 3 or 4 months to go ahead and get it done.
So it's very, very, very good to have that process moved along. We had, as the city manager mentioned, there were 4 internal control issues that we considered material weaknesses that we suggested that they needed to, that needed to be addressed. And management's responded to all 4. I will touch on those. Those are inventory tracking, comparison of inventory to the financial statements, and those are both in the enterprise fund. There was some missing supporting documentation for some transactions, and the preparation of the budget for DDA. All those are items that we consider to be things that need to be, you can't build a time machine and go back and fix it, but you can fix it on a go-forward basis. And the management's response is all contained in our audit report. Other than that, I don't know if you guys have any questions, if there's anything you want to add.
Is there any question from council? First, please. It looks like a lot of good reading.
It will keep you up. If you wake up at 2 in the morning, that will, you can read it and put the rest to sleep.
Okay.
When the recommendation, 75, what do you mean?
Pardon?
You said, applying support document for all transactions.
Right, there was some documentation missing from 2018. And, that's been addressed as far as I know. But part of our audit process is we come in and we say, hey, we want to see this specific transaction. There was not any, it had been reported in general ledger, but there wasn't supporting documentation for it.
One more thing. It seems like it's been, over and over, the DDA is a problem. Last 2017, 16, and in an audit, the same problem with the same DDA issue between data documentation, files,
I don't have 16 and 17 in front of me, but that could be the case. It certainly could be. I don't know. What's your question there? What would you say?
I'm going to ask you, since you won't be doing it for the past 3 years, right?
We have audited the city of Hampton for the past 3 years, yes.
And one of the reasons why I asked this question because I've been asking for this documentation since I've been in council. I've able to find audit documentation. This is the first time I've seen one. And I was told that it don't exist, it was done, and you can't find them.
Okay, we were provided documentation in terms of the DDA financial transactions. Enough that we were comfortable in including it with the audit report there. I can't speak to what that's for.
The report, I don't think it was missing. I think they were slow to give you the information that they need to fill in the audit. That's what I think, and that's what I remember being.
Is that from previous years?
Yes.
Okay, that could be the case.
But the issue with the DEA this year was the budget.
There was not a budget.
There was not a budget, and that has been clear, fixed going forward, from your understanding.
And I'll follow up on that.
I will defer to the staff on that one.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Bill, for a great job.
Maybe I'll follow up on the question. So, DDA did submit, for part of the 2019 audit, I did request if I can, present a budget for the city, like I have the DDA question with the business. So we did,
For 19, they do have a
yes, they do have it. So there are 4 areas that were in question. One of them was, the first one was inventory. And, the auditors have suggested that we, interview or get some expert advice on inventory tracking system, and the city manager's office is already working on it, and we will be interviewing, tier the inventory software, companies that will, give ideas as to which direction the city needs to go for our inventory tracking. So by next year, end of the year, next year, we should already have that in place. The missing documentation, of course, as you know, I came here in November, this was for prior year's audit, we have fixed the situation internally. We have a, accounts payable process set up, and also use of credit card now has a policy where, each, department head who uses a credit card for emergency purposes has to get prior approval and has to submit the receipt. We do have a proper staff that tracks all those, transactions. Now, on the missing transactions, I don't know what the material amount was, but I do know from the audit paperwork that I provide them that there were some missing receipts from a credit card that were not a material. So when I say material, usually in accounting terms, $2,500 or $5,000 or less is not considered material, but it is an issue. So we should actually be able to identify, when they ask us for a backup for each transaction, we should have a backup. And that has been solved by setting up a proper internal controls and the third one, of course, was the DDA, we're missing, the DDA budget, that was taken care of as well. So as far as, I'm hoping that the next year's audit should be a lot smoother, they shouldn't be here as long, they shouldn't be that complicated. The audit process does take 2 years, 22 months, by the time we close the books in September, it will be scheduled to be here by December and be done with the audit by February. In February, we'll submit to the Department of Audit our audited financials by the beginning of March. So we have 6 months after we close the year to, do that. So I think we're kind of going the right direction, so I think we should be fine very much.
Any questions? Thank you, Dennis. Okay, moving on, new business. Consideration and action on approval of special event requested from Glenn Golden at Jailhouse Marine to host a VW, Audi, and Ford car show that takes place on Cherry Street and Tomlinson Drive. The event will be held September 7th, 2019, from 6 to 10. Chief, has he met all the requirements to the application?
Yes, ma'am. I believe Kip Love is here if you have any questions for him. This is a annual event they've been doing, so nothing new, no problem in the past.
Okay.
Right. You need anything from me?
Yeah.
This is our 5th year.
This is the 5th year?
Yes, we didn't be the same as every year. We're gonna shut down the loop there and have a cruise-in style car show.
Okay, I need a motion to deny or approve.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the special event request from Glenn Golden at the Jailhouse Brewery.
Second by Councilman Byrd. Any more discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Thank you, sir. Okay. Moving on, consideration and action on adoption of ordinance number 480, first reading, annexing 2.2 acres located at 540 South Hampton Road, Georgia 30228, parcel ID number 041-01023001. I need a motion to approve or deny.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 480 for the first reading.
Do I have a second? Mr. Turner, any discussion? All in favor? First reading. 1, 2, 3. All opposed? 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna vote for it to approve. Consideration and action on adoption of ordinance number 482, first reading, annexing 41.01 acres located at 0 Southampton Road, Georgia 30228, parcel ID number 041-01023000. Need a motion to approve or deny?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve ordinance number 482 for its first reading.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Yes, go ahead, Councilman Burke.
Is there any possibility that the owners of this property or whoever's going to make this happen would be willing to change from R3 to R2, which is more suited for that area with the houses and the Hampton and
Is the attorney still here that was representing the party?
Won't you change the R2?
No? Okay. Do I have a motion in a second already? Okay, all in favor?
First reading?
First reading. All opposed? And I'm going to approve on first reading. Consideration and action on approval of resolution 2019-12, authorizing the mayor to execute contracts between the city of Hampton and Net Planner System for installation of phone system for the city facility and city hall. City manager?
You guys got a new resolution to replace the one in the book, and that's because there are some sections of the contract that, you're finalizing. And so this resolution that you should have before you is to authorize the city manager to continue those final details and authorize the city manager to sign the contract upon, finalization.
It's going to correct some scrivener's errors, and, which you have in the book includes some boilerplate language, which refers to the state of Arizona as opposed to the state of Georgia, and it has, its own contracts that you sign, have to be subject to the Open Records Act, and open records requirements for the state of Georgia, not the state of Arizona, so it has a couple of what are called scrivener's errors like that. Legal counsel recommended we get those things ironed out, but the main basics are exactly the same. What I have before you is the result of the new process that we have undergone as far as procurement. This is the new phone system, which you budgeted $117,000 in the 2019 budget for to upgrade our phone system, which has been the bane of all of our existence, including the citizens of Hampton. Whenever they call up here, it's been so difficult to transfer calls. Voicemail has just been horrendous, and they call one department and they end up in the other, and they end up in an endless voicemail maze in which it's been the number one complaint I've received ever since you hired me. We took the process out to the marketplace in compliance with Georgia law. We advertised it. We had 7, if you look at Exhibit A in your book, you'll see we had 7 vendors that came and tendered bids. We determined that 2 of them were non-responsive. They were disqualified for a couple of reasons. They were not, they either returned in late or were non-responsive. They had some technical violations. All of them were given clear instructions what they needed to do. All the respondents were asked to give us 2 options. Now, I want you to understand, when you do an RFP, it's a request for proposal, as opposed to an RFB, which is a request for bid. So, when you do that, you are considering other options, other things other than just low price. So, when this RFP went out, we asked for 2 proposals. One was going to be a premise-based solution. The other was a cloud-based solution. And as you go through the exhibits, you will see that there was a dramatic difference in prices. The premise-based solutions were dramatically higher. We had one bid, a high bid, the Platinum Rolls-Royce bid. We had high bids soaring as high as $301,000. The second low bid on that solution was $178,000. So it didn't matter, how high that company scored. It was just why we didn't have sufficient budget to afford it, and that made that position untenable. So we turned to the cloud-based solution as one that was within budget range. So we had to have a viable project. We had to have a viable budget to fund the project. So when you go to exhibit, you have to then consider what's on exhibit C and D. And exhibit C was the results of the 3 evaluators. We convened 3 staff members. I brought in 2 technical experts from outside the city to help prepare the RFP and, B, provide technical advice to the evaluation committee. They worked diligently. Matter of fact, they gave up, our staff that served on the technical review committee gave up their weekend to review the 5 proposals that came back. They scored them, so what became more of the focus, you can see Exhibit C was the premise-based vendor, but what I wanted to turn your attention to is Exhibit D. And based on the scores of our evaluators, I present to you a recommendation by our staff that we award the bid to Net Planner with the highest score of 260 and the lowest price. They're the highest scoring responsive bidder with the lowest score, with the lowest price of $75,303.44. They are, which is a dramatic difference in price from what you got, what was originally forecast in the budget. So we're bringing home this project considerably under budget, what was forecast in the 2019 budget. And I ask for your approval to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract, or sign a contract for us to enter into and proceed with this project.
I need a motion to approve or deny.
I make a motion to approve 2019-12 resolution.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, passes 6-0. Moving on, consideration and action on approving resolution number 2019-14 to approve the 2019-2023 capital improvement element update. Need a motion to approve or deny?
Motion approved 2019-14.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Okay, consideration and action on adoption of resolution number 2019-13, authorizing adding Sunday brunch sales referendum to the November 5th citywide election ballot. I need a motion to approve or deny.
I make a motion that we approve. This is just to have it on the ballot.
Right, so the citizens can vote on it.
Yes, citizens will vote on it.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Mr. Turner and Mr. Brown, okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Mr. Turner? 4. Opposed? Passes. Henry? Passes 5-1. Let's go with positive happenings here in Hampton. I'll start with. Oh, that's right. Excuse me. Let me go back. Resolution number 2019-15, contract with the city clerk. I need a motion to approve or deny.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve resolution 2019-15 for the issuance of an employment contract for the city clerk.
I have a second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion?
I just want to say it's authorizing an issuance, it's not the actual contract.
All in favor? Passes 6-0. Resolution number 2019-16, professional services. Need a motion to approve or deny?
I make a motion to approve 2019-16.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
I just got one thing.
Go ahead, Councilman Burke.
This money for this will come out of, I think she's leaving, but she's leaving us in salary that she won't be taking this to help take care of this one.
No, it's, we believe it will be capped, you're talking about the CPA, right? We believe it'll be capped at, 29 hours for this fiscal year. Okay, if I believe that we need any CPA assistance going forward in the 2020 budget, I'll reflect it under professional services. But there'll be no net increase in 2019.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Now, the positive happenings. Travel policy? Okay. Make the positive happening, then I'll start with Councilman Byrd.
I'd just like to thank all the city workers that go out, face all this heat, police officers and all of them, because it's definitely a hard chore to get out in this heat. It's hard to deal with, but they do it every day, and I appreciate it.
Councilman Turner?
I noticed, they were moving forward, made some change, infrastructure, bringing the big to it.
Okay. Mr. Mitchell?
Well, I want to give thanks to Millie. She is a very awesome lady who have redefined his financial support to bring us to standard. And I really deeply miss it. And I want to thank you for your support.
Ms. Hartley?
I'm just gonna echo his view.
Okay. Ms. Bodie?
Sergeant King is working hard on the cost event again. It's gonna be next Saturday, the 24th, from 10 to 4, and it's one of my favorite events. We get kids from all over out to play and getting tons of new vendors and different people coming out. So it's a big one there.
Councilman Brown?
I'd like to just take an opportunity as well to recognize the staff that we have here. We've had a lot of turnover, but I've seen the progress that's been made in the short time that they've been here. I know everybody has made their own decisions for their own personal reasons, but I'm looking forward and I'm really not apprehensive, but excited about the future as far as getting more qualified, competent people here to push the city forward.
I'd like to say, I'm sorry, I preempted you.
Okay, that's fine. Melissa, our city manager, I've seen y'all working together, and I'm very proud of that. Y'all have done an outstanding job working hand in hand, and I love to see that continue. Okay, Mr. City Manager.
I'd also like to say what I've said privately to others about Millie Shaw. I've been in the supervisory position since longer than I care to say, but Millie Shaw is a consummate professional. Ever since I came here, I was impressed by her work ethic, her professionalism. She stays longer than I do. She works through lunch more than I do. I have never once seen her say no. She's worked over the weekends. She's been accessible. Even when she had to go out of town, she's answered emails at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock. She was in Canada. She was actually answering my emails at 11:30 at night. We're going to be missed. I was sad to see her have to make the decision that she made for very personal reasons. But what was really impressive to me that she has made herself available, or continue to make herself available to me, even as we transition on to the next step. And I want to thank her publicly. It's real easy. People throw the word professional around very loosely. Oftentimes it's applied incorrectly. But she's a consummate professional, and I wanted to acknowledge her publicly.
Millie?
Goodbye, because you never know. You may see you back. You know, I am available. I told him I'm just a phone call away. You know, you have a great city manager. Of course, your staff is just absolutely wonderful. I love each one of them, they've become my close friends, and, you know, I will keep in touch with them as long as I live. So, and they know I'm here, and of course, all of you will have my information as well, if you have any questions. It has been a joy. This is a beautiful city, I'm very proud of it, it's going in a great direction. I have, you know, there are so many, residents that have come and talked to me and have become friends with me, and I will definitely miss, them. It is not an easy decision, but it's a decision I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, move into Councilman Brown.
One more, I mean, and not to take anything away from Millie, but, we also have Dr. Bumpus that, submitted his resignation this week.
What?
And, he is probably not gonna be here at our next council meeting, I don't know what the last date is, but I wanna recognize him for a lot of the activities and the partnerships that he's been able to build with the community here. We've seen a lot of positive things take place. We see a lot of events where a lot of people have come out and participate that didn't usually come out and participate. We're seeing a lot of mixing and mingling that is going to be very healthy for our city. So I'd like to recognize him and thank him for his impact.
Okay, I need a motion to go into executive session.
May I make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussion and personnel and
All in favor? Executive session at 8:46.
No, somebody should find it. I wish you the best. I'm glad you came. Hello, Mama. Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. What's your name? Anthony Armstrong, okay. Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, take him around. Nice to meet
Everybody does what they do. Can I bring my mic? Dr. Bumpus, you're dismissed. Enjoy it. Enjoy this value. Things change, times hanging around the city council for 18 years.
My right hand.